It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Welcome to The New Next, a podcast that addresses current events and how they will impact the future.
So this was a big deal recently was, and I don't really know where it went with this, but, here's the F-35. It was a big thing recently. A military base in South Carolina had a training exercise where the operator of the aircraft ejected and had a malfunction or something. But this has been a big point of concern, I would say, for a lot of people, especially in kind of like the military strategy sense, because first off, it costs a lot. So I think we're planning on having a fleet of about 2,500 F-35s, which is, just for the jets, I believe is supposed to cost about $300 billion and, or $400 billion with 1.3 trillion spent on basically maintenance and operations for it. So, it's to keep it going. It's quite a whole thing too. My big concern with the design specifically is that it's a single engine aircraft. So, that's a big deal, because if that engine goes down, you're left with, you're left with a situation where the pilot has to eject. Single seat, single engine, all-weather stealth multi-road combat aircraft. So it's first flight 2006, 16 years old, and it's they've built 965 plus as of September 2023. Developed with Lockheed Martin. X-35. So it looks cool, but fundamentally, single prop, single engine airplanes are, I personally feel less comfortable riding in something like this, because literally any, and maybe state of the art, but any sort of potential issue that you have with it, the pilots could be forced to eject. And yeah, it's also alarming too, finding basically the government reach out and ask if anybody has seen their jet. So the exact amount of money for a single aircraft like the one that went missing is around $100 million. And this wasn't in a war aircraft sort of situation. There's a lot of chatter that there was a cyber issue with this aircraft and it was compromised. But it's it's weird that the transponder wasn't working. I believe that they found crash residue 2 days later. And yeah, third plane crash for the service, F-35, in 6 weeks. So, it's like, I'm just reading off CNN politics here. The Lockheed Martin video really, the jet was supposed to be able to communicate with the rest of the military, sharing its operational picture with ground, sea, and air assets. But, it's been looked by a lot of people as not fulfilling its strategic interests, and perhaps maybe not turned out as well as possible. It's a cool design. It's meant to land vertically like a helicopter and take off in very short distances, making it that it can be globally deployed in a lot of areas where otherwise you would need aircraft carriers present or a true military airfield. But like as Dan Grazer, F-35 expert for Pogo, said, it all boils down to failure at the conceptual level. The architects of the program attempted to build a single aircraft to meet multiple mission requirements for not just 3 separate services, but also those of multiple countries. So, trying to make it small and nimble, but also a long range. And when, historically, when you try to be everything to everybody, you're often nothing to everybody, as the saying goes. But it's, they're in process of retrograding it now. So they've had problems with this for so long, and they're way over budget. And I think this is like with some of the ships that we've discussed previously on this podcast. It's very difficult, both incentivizing these companies to make large investments in this, but yeah, it's cool. It's the theories behind it are cool. The aircraft can direct their own missiles or those from other planes, ships, and submarines or ground stations to target they've identified while airborne. And this really makes the F-35 strategy pretty interesting. But if you're navigating decentralized assets, you could theoretically just do that with a surveillance plane also. So, the factor in this is not necessarily that the most important thing is not necessarily that it can shoot missiles itself. It's for the military of the future that's really built off of decentralized assets, drones, modular vehicles, small vehicles. It's important. Most important thing is its ability to communicate with different assets and deploy those assets based on what they see on the ground. Something that can be essentially done with spy satellites or space satellites. So we'll see what this happens, but I think the fact that it's just hard, having a single engine, expecting it to always turn out well when you basically have to ditch $1 million or $100 million each time you have an issue, and hope that it turns out well, that it doesn't fly into a person's home or something. But the fact that they were able to lose sight of it and not be able to find it is very troubling. I think, and it probably troubled a lot of people. So, I mean, hey, not a good look.
If you would like to learn more about the New Next podcast, find us at thenewnextpodcast.com, where you can suggest a topic you would like for us to cover. If you enjoyed what you heard, share the podcast, tell a friend about it, or rate us with 5 stars.